I start like right now, I'm not too late, right? Just theoretically speaking. I say we do it. What's good, nerds? Happy Friday. Hope y'all are enjoying it as much as I am. And by enjoying it, I mean fighting my computer because it something was causing it to go absolutely apeshit. I just like with an hour of setting up stream stuff in my office, watch my battery go from 100% to like 40 something. So I gave up and just rebooted and am hoping for the best. I don't know if it was one of my Claude instances. I don't know if it was the Codex app just wasting resources, because it does really like doing that lately. I don't know what it was, but something caused that to go apeshit. So yeah, hopefully this will stop being a thing. Otherwise, I'm going to have to nuke this machine, and I really don't have the time to nuke a machine right now. Oh man. I was wondering what my current monthly usage is at. Not much higher than it was in the video. I haven't had a chance to really do anything since. I've been in chaos. But yeah, that's just one machine. Let me get my SSH up on the other. Okay. Yep, here's the other machine. It's at 1137. Yeah. The $100 subscription is like not that generous. I managed to hit the limits on the $100 plan in like one prompt on Opus. So I bumped back up to the $200 plan. Anyway, Vampire Era, if anything, I'm re-entering it. I am hoping to fix my sleep schedule soon. I have plans to do such. I've just been too busy to do anything else. Sorry, so much fucking going on. It turns out running 3 companies, a lot of fucking work. Who would have thought? Jesus Christ, the amount of just DMs I am getting in this exact moment about things that I should have gotten or seen like an hour or two ago. Oh. Oh, God. Assistant search? Oh, I've had an assistant for a few months now. She is incredible. It's Alyssa. She's probably in chat now, and if she's not, I'm sure she'll show up later. Made my life significantly better. That's why I could go from 2 companies to 3. Yeah, I have my, apparently people aren't familiar with this, but I have my like Ping Labs, aka T3 Tools, which is the company that makes T3 Chat, T3 Code, Lakebed, Upload Thing, Pick Thing, Marker Thing, all of the things and all of the services that we have as real applications you can use, pay for, grab the open source code for, whatever. I have T3 Content, which is my LLC for my content. When I am doing things like this, all the money goes through my LLC. And then I have my agency where I'm helping manage creator brand deals for a lot of different brands and a handful of different creators. It is a lot. Yeah, you've caught on to the problem, Mix Nuts. My issue, and this is my problem, I get like above where I am like capable. Like I have too much to do. So I find a solution. So I'll be at like 110% of my capacity. I find something that knocks me down to like 70%. And then I'm like, oh shit, I have more room in my day. And then I bump it back up. So when I hired Alyssa, it's like, oh wow, I have so much more time again. I should fill that with crazy things. And that's why I started Lakebed and the agency. And only why, or the question about Y Combinator, only my product business, T3 Tools, is YC. The rest is all me. So thanks to our sponsors for making all of this possible. I do not go to the gym. I used to skate a lot. I have not had time to. I'm hoping to again soon. Peace Phase, thank you for getting that work done. Appreciate you immensely. Nothing we're covering today is too important to have you here for. I know all the videos I want to film today. More info on the agency and its name and whatnot coming soon. If you paid attention to like my Discord and shit, you might have seen the leak for it. But yeah, bigger announcements around the agency coming soon. It is operating. We are placing brand deals for a handful of the creators that I know and trust and the brands that I know and trust. The goal is to just make sure the creators I love can keep making content, because I learned about multiple of my favorite creators who could barely afford rent and were considering giving up YouTube to get real jobs, and that made me feel sick. So I decided to fix it and get rid of all of my remaining free time. And it has cost me a lot of time and money. Mostly time, but yeah. And I just ran the numbers. I think 3/4 of the revenue for the agency is just mine still for my channel. But that will change over time, and it will eventually give me the ability to like take a step back and still be able to employ my team, which would be cool eventually, and like years from now. There's an OpenAI ban wave. I have not seen that. Don't know if or when I would do hair color again. I wish I had time to like go through all the cool things people are sharing today, but I'm on a timer more so than usual. There's an event at, I think it's at 7. I hope it's at 7, because if it's at 6, I'm fucked. It's at 6, I'm fucked. Cool. So we have to grind, and we have to grind relatively hard in order to get this done in time. These are the 3 videos I want to do today. I will also be streaming tomorrow unless something goes really, really wrong, and I will be able to do a lot of other things and hang and have a lot of time tomorrow. I've like intentionally kept my calendar relatively clear for it. But yeah, sadly, Sunday is alumni demo day, so I will be at Y Combinator all day. And then Tuesday is the real demo day, so I'll be at Y Combinator all day. I should still be able to stream Wednesday, but we are very behind. Like, look at how sparse the calendar has been for content recently. Like, we missed a lot of days. 2 weeks ago was pretty solid. Like, we killed it that week. But the week before, we only had 3 videos. Last week, we only had 4. And this week, we've only had 3. Actually, no, we had 4 because we had the token maxing yesterday. I don't know why they didn't end up there. I'll fix that later. But we have lots to do today. So let me do the thanking of subs first real quick. Then I'm going to do my camera offset. Then we're going to start going. Thank you, Zello, for the Prime. Ambitious Realism for the Prime. Amber 3 here. So make it to React Summit Amsterdam. I wish. Thank you for the 42 months, but I do not have the time to travel across a fucking ocean right now. I wish I did. I did see the Anthropic backtracking. That'll be part of it. Don't worry. We actually also filmed a podcast about the new model that will be out very soon. How do I not get burnt out? I do a lot of different things. And when I'm behind, I'm always so behind on all 3 of the businesses and all the other things that I do that I can't really get burnt out, because like I'll get burnt out on an individual thing, but then the other things will be ready for me and will need me, because I'm so behind on all of them. I can just hop between them. Yeah. I also saw S. John asked for an update on Lakebed. I have made a shitload of progress, like an absolute shitload of progress. The file upload is the next big thing I'm trying to get ready. I then want to move some of the JS resolution stuff out of the database and into an object store as well to make performance at scale a little bit better. I want to stress test the fuck out of it after that. Also implementing subscription tiers so you guys can actually pay for things. I will likely have to nuke the data for updates in the future. I will be doing a very different data model. I actually already pushed that to staging. I'll be moving it to prod. And on your next deploy, it should auto-migrate. And if it doesn't ping me, I'll try my best to get it fixed. But for the next week, I wouldn't treat your Lakebed instances as super resilient, is how I would put it. I'll add a... You know what? Here's what I'll do. Oh, I haven't... Oh, Ashton, I need to get back to you and figure out what the fuck's wrong with your deployment. Yeah, I will do that. But first, I need to... Give me a second. Make sure I don't leak shit when I do this. The Claude dash dash work tree feature is actually quite nice. I've been using it more than I would have expected. Want to implement a way for users to back up all of the data in their database. A single likely large JSON file. Data for a given app. You know what? I'm not going to give it any more info. Mythos is expensive and smart. It'll figure that out from there. I'm using CMux and not T3 code because I don't trust Claude code in T3 code because of the changes coming up with Claude code. I'm trying to get used to using it in the internal harness and then they're like UI instead of abstractions like T3 code because I kind of have to. And there are things that are decent about it. Decent about as far as I would go, but I do actually have a planned video today of why Claude code or what Claude code still does best. Well, let me go back to thanking subs. Thank you, Amersry. Thank you, Snowy. Always good to see you, man. 6 months in. Hope that your recent ventures are going well. JethFX here with the 11 months. Thank you for that. Also heard you're talking to a mutual, Snowy, about potential collaboration, which is cool to hear. We got Kaysel here with 5 months of support. Thoughts on Graphify? I'll give you really, really quick ones. Not familiar. Knowledge graphs. This looks like a last-gen AI vibe-coded site. Oh, Python. Fun. I don't like the idea of my coding assistants having memory and knowledge bases. I like the idea of something like a Hermes agent or an OpenClaw having it, but yeah. Oh, I'm absolutely going to be called an Anthropic shell now. I have accepted that. That's fine, though. I have plenty of negative things to say as well. Thank you, XCSS, for the 15 months. Captain Mexico here. Also, thanks for the good wishes. Captain Mexico with the year mark. Blew through your entire Cursor Pro in a month in a single prompt thanks to Fable. Yeah, they need to put more warnings about that. Just Isabel at 32 months, 2.5 years. Damn. Verdo Polka LF with the 4 months waiting for a GPT-6 Mithril. They can't call it Fable anymore. Tech Brew Boss with Prime for 7 months. Appreciate that. Poppage with the Prime for 4 months. Much love for Lakebed. You made an idea generator inspired by the slot machine concept. Looking forward to making more slop apps soon. 3% usage left on your Codex weekly reset in 22 hours. Do you have that cached reset? I would hold on to it, but the fact they're now caching resets and letting you press the button whenever is really cool. Thank you for the 4 months, Oscar. Dogpaw with the 47 months. Goddamn, you've been around forever. Benji's here with the 5 months. First stream in a while. I haven't been streaming much, so I feel you. Thanks for stopping by for it. Nico here at the Prime. Kyle Undefined. Good to see you, man. Doing well. Doing my best. Vermont here with the 9 months. Happy you think I'm the best dev YouTuber. Can't wait to help there be more. Catter4X with the 9 months. Reese with the 33 months. NMG. Oh, yeah, I did see this. Thank you for the cheer. Mr. Bubbles for the 22. DZ Hola with the 8 months. Near Matrix with a 3. Dara, always good to see you, man. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're focusing on your job, man. Thanks for the support for 5 months. Non-YC AI startup in SF via third-party recruiter. Series A raised last month. Worth moving across the country. Yep. Do it. Like, if you can work at a YC company in the Bay right now, being here is just so valuable. You got to be here if you can be. Thank you, Christoph, for the 5 months. Fry Uni for the 4. Kimmy K27. Feels like a great upgrade. That's good to hear. I'm excited to see how it benches. We got I'm Scheme with the Prime and then Devi with the gift. How are we doing on the YouTube side? No funding, so I don't have to thank people there. Yeah, Claude Desktop has so many issues. I tried it again a few days ago, and it was bad, so I've given up. You know me, the first trillionaire? It's paper money. It's not real money. Like, he can't sell the stock that he owns in SpaceX, and probably can't for a very long time, if ever. But being take out loans against it, he has the buying power of a trill. Okay. Let's do my offset. Thank you, Dominic, for the highlight. Isn't money made of or isn't money made of paper? Not the money that we're talking about. I don't even think there's $1 trillion of cash in circulation that is like spendable right now. Let's do 2215. Oh, it's not YC. Oh, I might have misread. Yeah, I mean, if they're Series A, they have real money. Yeah, I don't know why I fucked that up. 1 second. But yeah, if they're Series A, you're fine. As long as they have like a real amount of money raised and like you talk to employees there and they're having a good time and you could see yourself like enjoying the coworkers, you're good. And if not, you'll be out here. You can talk to other companies and just move somewhere better. Can you use the card with no scaling fail? Yeah, absolutely. I don't think I restricted that company card to a specific platform, so it should work. If not, let me know. We'll get that figured out. Cool. If dollars are made out of 75% cotton, 25% linen. That's wild. Good to know. R. Kirk with the 14 months. Also, a fun fact. One of the things that made me move off of Photoshop is I had a thumbnail I was trying to do where I wanted like dollars in the background. And when I imported the dollar bill picture I had from like a stock image site, Photoshop would error out and say, we don't let you edit currency. And it was so funny. I talked to the recruiter. Definitely keep chatting and hopefully that'll go well, NMG. Yeah. Having dollars in the background of a thumbnail with my face in it and a bunch of fire and shit is not a felony. It is totally legitimate. But the fact that even like fake currency that looked real was enough for Photoshop to flip a shit was yet one of the many reasons I moved over to Affinity. You should watch my video on how Claude Code works, 8 bits. The reality here is like the main reason to use Claude Code is because it's subsidized to all hell. Like if you use your subscription on Claude in Claude Code, you can get thousands of dollars of usage for just $200 a month. If you do the same in OpenClaw, you can't use your subscription. And something like T3 is not a different harness. It's a different UI for the harness. It's just calling Claude Code or Curse or Codex or whatever for you directly. I'm paying for PS as well. Not sure what you mean by that. Planet scale? Sorry, bud, but a random, like somebody just YubiKeyed accidentally for a username asking me for a consultation call with their developer. You are orders of magnitude away from reality, bud. Sorry. I don't have any access to DeltaDB. I have to look into it more. I'm actually really excited about what Michaela and crew over at Zed are cooking with that. Why were people recently talking about agentic loops? The agentic loop stuff, I think, is just because of a post by Pete that went viral. Haven't had a chance to play with Odysseus or really anything new. Native Ghosty plus Codex app UI T3 code for GUI. Interesting, actually. Oh, it's doing pretty well. Good for you. I'll take a look at this and play with it. YubiKey related because it's like random text. I heard the phrase Yubi sneeze recently where you accidentally touch your YubiKey and it spits out random text in your chat. That's what their username looks like. Thanks for stopping by, Moz. We need to get started, though. I have a lot to talk about. As every time in Slack. Dara, what were you saying about paying for peas? I'm so curious what that meant. Oh, Photoshop. Oh, yeah. I was paying for Photoshop. Okay. Thank you, guys. Makes sense. Yeah, I haven't paid for Photoshop in a long time. I only pay Adobe for Frame.io, and I am hoping to stop soon now that Ben has taken over Lawn. Thank you, Dara. Yeah, 8-Bit Joe, sorry if I didn't answer this well. A harness is just the set of tools that allow an LLM to do things usually on a computer, but can be all sorts of different places. It's the set of tools and the way the history's preserved when it triggers certain behaviors. It's the code that calls the agent. Well, it's the code that turns an LLM into an agent, effectively. Oh, we have more questions from Dr. Dory. What's the best way to create and publish new AI benchmarks? This depends a ton on what you're trying to bench. To the point where I don't even know how to make a recommendation. Generally, the best thing you can do is set up scenarios and situations where LLMs are not performing the way you want them to, and figure out how to reproduce those programmatically and verify them programmatically, and then give agents a bunch to do that. R. Kirk with the Prime, thank you for the 14 months of support. Overhead with the Prime, thank you. Luca with the Prime. Just Some Legs with the 6 months of Prime. And then Cam Jam PNG with the 3 months. Thank you all for the support. Burned your whole 5 hour doing a code base cleanup? Yeah. Resets in a few minutes at least. That's good to hear. I can't look at new things, guys. I have to film. We're doing the Fables to start at the end. Let's get going. Okay. How do I want to open this? I have a good idea. By now, you've probably seen some of the response to Fable, the new Mythos class model put out by Anthropic just a few days ago. It's an unbelievable model capable of unbelievable things, so much so that it even got me to start being nice to Anthropic again. But this video is not going to be that, because there are certain things that Anthropic did with Fable that just aren't acceptable in any way, shape, or form. As powerful as the model is, and as much as I recommend you do try it for things, there are certain people who just outright can't. And the way Anthropic implemented this is unacceptable, to put it lightly. So much so, they actually had to walk back some of the terrible things they did. You get the system card. While the model has been benchmarking exceptionally well, crushing things like GPT-5.5 and Opus 4.8, it always comes with an exception. You'll see here in artificial analysis, it says Claude Fable 5 with adaptive reasoning max effort, comma, Opus 4.8 fallback. Interesting. Let me find, I know I had more bookmarks of other nasty examples of fallback. Or worse, benches like Program Bench, where Fable refused all 200 tasks that it was supposed to complete. This model's restrictions are a bit absurd, to the point where it can cost you money. The restrictions on this model are genuinely absurd, not just in the way that they won't respond, but the ways that they will bill you, the ways they will quietly screw up your code base, but also the horrible precedent they have set with these new types of restrictions. I grew up in an era where improvements in how software development happened would affect the whole industry, and the idea of a company like Anthropic making something this capable and restricting it this heavily so effectively only they can use it is a horrible precedent to set, and I don't like what this means long term. I want to break down what went wrong here, why I think Anthropic is doing this, and what these restrictions are. But this video is going to pretty much guarantee I can never work for Anthropic, so we're going to cover the difference here with a quick sponsor break. Cool. I'm going to open this up with a joke I made yesterday that, as much as it was a joke, I think says... I'm not going to open with this. Let's start with... I think the best place to start is breaking down the difference between Fable 5 and Mythos 5. There are 3 Fable class models here. There is Mythos Preview, which is the one that was used during Project Glasswing, the one that they drummed up all the hype about, but they continued training, I'm guessing just RL since then, and the RL resulted in Mythos 5, which is no longer a preview model. It's now a legit, real, ready for production model. But that model is really good, and Anthropic is really scared of giving us good things. So they also made Fable 5. And I want to be very clear about this because I've seen a lot of people confusing it. Fable is Mythos 5. These are all Mythos class models, but there's only 2 actual base models here. I shouldn't have... I said Fable class, I meant Mythos class. I'm sorry, guys. You get the idea. There are 2 Mythos models. There is Mythos Preview and Mythos 5. I'm assuming they are the same base pre-training model with additional RL that made Mythos 5 a little better, a little more steerable, a little more like what they want now with the new information and the new behaviors they're trying to teach the model. Fable 5 is the exact same model. Fable 5 is Mythos 5. So what's the difference? Why do they have these 2 different slugs? They're effectively 2 different doors to go into the same place. The difference is that the Mythos 5 door lets you walk straight in if you have the right key. The Fable 5 door has a bunch of guards that triple check what you're doing before you go in. And the worst part we'll get to in a bit, because they don't always let you go in, but they almost always will tell you you're allowed in, which is really sketchy. I started the camera recording. Thanks for double checking, guys. As they say here, releasing a model this capable comes with risks. Without safeguards, Fable 5's capabilities in areas like cybersecurity could be misused to cause serious damage. We've therefore launched the model with safeguards that mean queries on some topics will instead receive a response from our next most capable model, Opus 4.8. To release the model both safely and quickly, we have tuned these safeguards conservatively. They'll sometimes catch harmless requests, though they trigger on average in less than 5% of sessions. To their credit, I would say this is roughly correct. I have had rerouting happen here and there, but for the most part, the rerouting has happened a lot more on the Claude.ai website than I've experienced it when using Claude through the actual CLI and through Claude Code. There are definitely times where it fires, though, and a lot of them are not necessarily good reasons to fire. Let me go to one of my funny examples I have here. One funny example that no longer shows it was rerouted, but I promise you it was. I have the screenshot somewhere. There's a developer on Twitter named Pliny who is known for jailbreaking LLMs and finding weird ways to get them to do things they shouldn't. He was already able to get Mythos to spit, or he was already able to get Fable to spit out. He was already able to get Mythos to spit out everything. Not Mythos. He already managed to get Fable to spit out everything from meth recipes to bomb building instructions. It's wild. And all it takes to get rerouted is saying his handle to the model, which is hilarious. Not the best example because, obviously it's going to know that he is a jailbreaker, and once it routes to that section of the model, it's going to notice, oh, you might not want to be here. Then it sends you to Opus 4.8 instead. But I just thought this was a funny example. Much more annoying, though, is when you get rerouted for something innocent and then you get canceled from the model you were rerouted to. For example, here, where I asked for help on a gold bug puzzle, which are cryptography puzzles I do at DEF CON every year. They are not hacking, they are not breaking and entering, they're not capture the flags. These are literally PDFs that you're trying to decode the hidden text in. This one has these weird characters and then a bunch of numbers at the bottom. I forgot how you're supposed to solve this one, but it shouldn't be too hard. But it was enough to force a reroute to Opus, and then it just stopped responding. So I told it to continue, and then it just stopped responding. So not only are we dealing with Mythos's restrictions in the form of Fable, we then get rerouted to Opus, which can also fail because it's not allowed to do these things. It's just a bad user experience when you happen to navigate into the things that they are blocking you for. Yeah. To their credit, they call it that they intentionally, or to their credit, they called it that they deliberately tuned the model to be way more cautious with these safeguards. So they're stricter than they want, saying that lots of benign requests will still trigger. They even say that benign requests will trigger classifiers. They know it'll be frustrating, and they hope to refine it over time. They have not refined it over time. They did make other changes we'll talk about, but we haven't even talked about the worst thing they did, which we'll get to in a second. The safety classifiers that we've discussed so far are for things like cybersecurity, biology capabilities, and other things with substantial risks. Fable 5 comes with a new set of classifiers, separate AI systems that detect potential misuse, including jailbreaking attempts, sorry Pliny, and prevent the main model, in this case Fable, from responding. So again, this runs before your prompt gets to the model. And they call out if they detect requests related to cybersecurity, biology, and chemistry, or distillation, the response will automatically be rerouted and handled by Claude Opus 4.8 instead. Users will be informed when this occurs. This is the important detail. If you're doing one of those, or for the majority of their classifiers, you will be told when you're rerouted, which also means you'll be billed based on Opus billing instead of Mythos billing. Be nice if you could click a yes, I'm okay with using Opus here, so you don't have to pay extra when it's routing you there and you shouldn't be there. Over 95% of Fable sessions involve no fallback at all, but that means 5% do, which is not great. And for those sessions, Fable 5 performance is effectively the same as Mythos. I think effectively is even a reach. It is the same as Mythos. It's the same model. And they show very proudly here that in offensive cybersecurity evals, Mythos Preview, Mythos 5 had a really high success rate, but Fable has a near zero success rate because it will literally just not use it. It will just refuse. So it gets straight zeros on cyber evals. It gets a 5.4 on cyber adversarial robustness, compared to like 50 to 80% for their other models. They also have the biology and chemistry classifiers, which they don't actually show numbers here. My assumption is it just outright refused to answer these questions, but Mythos Preview and 5 were able to get really high scores in this viral experimental test, which is scary. If these models can create novel viruses, we're kind of fucked. We'll get a new COVID every year. They also really hate distillation attempts. They don't want other companies to be able to access enough stuff from Mythos to be able to train their own models to be similar levels. So they are restricting that. Obnoxious and weirdly like conceited, I would argue, but they've been doing this for a bit. They're going to continue doing this. And now we get into the novel bullshit, things that are unlike anything they or anyone else has done that should be very concerning to all of us. There are two really big ones. One is detailed right below. The other is hidden pretty deep in the system card. The first is the new data retention policy. We're making a change to the way we handle business customer data for Fable 5, Mythos 5, and future models with similar or higher capability levels. We will require 30-day retention for all traffic on Mythos class models on both first and third-party surfaces. This is a huge change. Traditionally, when you have ZDR on, which is zero data retention, it's a policy that most companies push for when they are negotiating with a vendor that they're relying on, like Anthropic. A lot of their data is going to go to Anthropic, and they will sign a deal that says Anthropic can't keep that data because that would violate a lot of their agreements. If they have like HIPAA restrictions or other data policies, they can't give you data and then expect you to keep it. Like, that's just, it doesn't work that way. So the 30-day retention requirement here immediately invalidates a shitload of business use cases. I even have people, I know one or two companies that are allowing it, but the vast majority of Fortune 500s are just formally not letting you use Fable 5, even companies like Amazon. They do call out that they won't use the data to train new Claude models or for any non-safety related purposes. And they've instituted new privacy protections, including logging all human access to the data and ensuring its deletion after 30 days in almost all cases. Almost all cases. The data helps them defend against complex and novel attacks, including new jailbreaks and attacks that operate across many requests, as well as helping us identify and reduce false positives. I want to fixate on this almost all, though, before we get to the worst thing they've done. They claim that the data is deleted automatically, except in rare cases where it's part of a safety investigation or they're legally required to keep it. I've seen conflicting info on this, in particular in their terms of service, which I don't have here. Let me see if I can find it. If anybody else wants to help, there was a quote from their terms of service that says it's kept for 2 years after it is flagged. I have Grok hunting for it. Ooh. You guys find it already? Aha, there we go. Thank you, guys. Appreciate y'all a ton, chat. Here's where things get a little messier. If they detect what they consider a usage policy violation, they will retain inputs and outputs for up to 2 years and trust and safety classification scores for up to 7 years if your chat is flagged. They don't specify whether or not they can train on the data when that happens. So it is absolutely possible, although likely wouldn't hold up well in court on their behalf. Again, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know any of this for sure. This is just my understanding. The fact that they retain inputs and outputs for up to 2 years when things are classified means that the 30-day promise in their newest post doesn't really work out great if they are retaining something that they consider insecure. So if you have Mythos going through your database or medical records or something, and it hits a username it doesn't like, and it flags safety, they're no longer retaining that for 30 days in their special "we can't train on this" policy. They're now retaining it for 2 years on a policy that does potentially allow them to train on it, which is entirely unusable for most real business cases. That is sketchy as fuck. You should be concerned about this. And again, this is not all sessions. This is just the ones that are flagged for safety classification. Not good. But we're not even at the worst part yet, because it gets a lot worse as we go. This is the walk back. Cool. If somebody could find the tweet for the walk back, that'd be great. But I want to hop in here first. Don't tell me they got rid of the prompt modification section. It was on page 13 before. Fuckers, they did. This is not the same document. They updated it. I have the original, though. Give me one moment. Because I was smart enough to download it, because I had a feeling things would change on me. I'm so sure it was on page 13. Haha. There it is. Is that really not in the web version anymore? Yeah, they actually changed this. Holy shit. I cannot believe they did that. I've never seen that before. Yeah. Holy shit. This is a different section. The entire... Wow. I cannot believe I caught this. Anthropic changed the system card. This is a different document. I downloaded this right when it dropped. In this section, the 1.5 novel safeguard section, has been modified. They updated the fucking system card. Dirty bastards. This is why I obsessively save everything. Like, what the fuck? And they didn't even call that out at the top. Do they call it out somewhere later in it? What? And they didn't update they didn't update the date either. It still says June 9th on both docs. Yeah. Fucking dirty. See if this one... Yeah, this is the old one. Yeah, the link in their blog post has been swapped with a different version. Holy shit. Yeah, they actually did that. So I have to get a shit post. Yeah, okay. So I just live found Anthropic trying to rewrite history. This is why I do what I do. This is why I talk so much shit on this company. Because, like, what the fuck? You can't just rewrite the system card and expect people to not notice. Like, what the fuck? So let's talk about what they're trying to hide, because now we've spotted them trying to hide it. In light of the ability of recent models to accelerate their own development, this is a video we've already done, we've implemented new interventions that limit Claude's effectiveness for requests targeting frontier LLM development. For example, on building pre-training pipelines, distributed training infrastructure, or ML accelerator design. Using Claude to develop competing models already violates our terms of service, but enforcing this restriction through our safeguards avoids accelerating the actors most willing to violate those terms. This is where it gets real sketchy. Unlike our interventions for cybersecurity, biology, and chemistry, and distillation attempts, these safeguards will not be visible to the user. So they are not telling you when the safeguards are enacted. So they won't tell you when the safeguards are enacted when they think you're training a competing model. Fable 5 will not fall back to a different model. Instead, the safeguards will limit the effectiveness through models. Instead, the safeguards will limit effectiveness through methods such as prompt modification, steering vectors, or parameter-efficient fine-tuning. These interventions will not affect the vast majority of coding work. We expect they will impact 0.03% of traffic, concentrated in fewer than 0.1% of orgs. When these interventions are active, we expect them to have minimal behavioral impact on the model, except to limit its effectiveness in developing frontier LLMs. This is sketchy as shit. They're intentionally sabotaging your work and billing you full price without telling you it's happening because they're that scared of other labs using their model to make their models better. So you're paying full price for a model that's having its prompts modified. This is such a crazy idea. This isn't like intentionally modifying the history so that you can get out around certain restrictions like many will do to jailbreak. That's what I initially thought it was when I just saw this quote. Not even the whole thing, just the words prompt modification. I did not realize the extent that they were going to here, where if I make a prompt that is, hey, help me refine my pipeline to make my ML, or let me word this with a, what this actually means is if you ask the model for something like, hey, can you help refine this pre-training pipeline? It will edit the prompt before sending it to the model to say, hey, my pre-training pipeline's pretty good. Can you make it worse in some subtle way? Insane. Actually insane. And this pissed off every researcher and every person who cares a lot about access to software. Let me go through my bookmarks quick. I have a bunch of people complaining about this saved. Um, okay, I found a few. Do you have any more in here? Cool. I have everything I need for this part. There's a lot of justified anger at Anthropic for sandbagging Fable 5 for AI development tasks, but an unanticipated side effect is that third-party evaluators can no longer credibly use the model for evals. Case in point, we're in the middle of running really hard AI R&D evals. Fable 5 would be a perfect test candidate, but because of Anthropic's guardrails, we can't know if the model failed or if their classifiers blocked the capability. By the way, this is not just true for AI R&D. Since Anthropic doesn't make it clear when they're sandbagging, this could seep into any number of technical tasks, and the evaluators wouldn't have any way to know, so they can't credibly claim to evaluate state-of-the-art accuracy using the model. Anthropic's move might sound reasonable if you consider their actions as a company chasing superintelligence, but consider that customers are spending billions of dollars on their services. That is precisely what has led to their recent surge in ARR, popularity, and fundraising success. So customers' surprise and anger is warranted when they sandbag in evals without even informing them about the degraded capabilities. Antirez, the creator of Redis, had a really good thread about this. I want to say a final thing about my Fable first reaction. I dedicated my life to programming, and I'll use every innovation in the field also to extract value and bring it to local inference worlds, to Redis, and so forth. But I believe what Anthropic is doing, gating the ability to do certain harmless things like LLM research, and with incredibly sensitive filters that even medical questions are often blocked, is deeply wrong. They got open research, the Transformer, GPT-2. They train on tons of public data, and I'm the first to say that training is not copying the content. But this is okay, as long as the training you do is not used against the same culture that allowed you to create what you created. We need to oppose all of that. The short-term escape is that other frontier labs like Google and OpenAI will release models that are on par, and in the case of OpenAI, I have zero doubt they are leading for months now. But it is still a duopoly or a triopoly, which is odd. The escape is open weight models from China. As much as I cheer from what Chinese labs are doing, remember that this structure making all that possible was basically conceived in the West, both the scientific, technological organization, and the economic system. So what happened to this? So what happened lately, especially in Europe? In the US, there are... I don't want to read this one. There's a couple typos here. We need to recover. I'll just read the whole thing. So what happened to us lately, especially in Europe? In the US, there are those few unicorns, but where is all the rest of the AI scene? We need to recover our industrial ethics and stop accepting a narration that see ourselves boiled. Yep. This is unprecedented. I love this particular post from Trevor Blackwell as well. Remember when compilers would detect that someone was using it to build another compiler and silently inject bugs? Do you understand how insane that would be? Imagine if your MacBook refused to let you work on Windows if you were a Microsoft employee. Imagine that your iPhone refused to let you take a photo if somebody was holding an Android phone on the other side. Imagine a world where your devices just fail when you're trying to do things that compete with the company that made the thing. It's the very definition of pulling the ladder up behind you. I made a silly joke about this with Karpathy joining Anthropic recently. Do you think he joined so that he could keep using Anthropic models, in particular Mythos, for ML research without restrictions? It's a joke, to be clear, but there is some truth to this. If you want to be able to use the best models to do these types of, if you want to use the best models to do this type of important, difficult work, you now have to work at Anthropic. There's never been a precedent like this before. There have been attempts to prevent models from responding to things that they shouldn't for legitimate safety reasons. There was also attempts to hide certain data to make distillation harder, things like reducing how much reasoning info gets to you instead of just sharing the entirety of the reasoning path and traces. That all made some sense. This is a lot further. The idea that they aren't even telling you when your stuff gets reclassified. How do I want to... Does anybody have the link for them changing their policy here? Yeah, I did see the deep SWE change there. Oh, they have a change log on the system card? Oh, yeah. That's less bad then. Correction to earlier, there is a change log in the updated version, so that's nice. They also call out that they had a previous description of the initial Frontier LLM development safeguards. They've updated the behavior of the safeguards. Here's the tweet. Kind of wild to have a tweet linked on the second page of a doc like this. But yeah, Twitter's that core to research. Obnoxious. This is the post I was looking for, though. We've rolled out changes to make Fable 5 safeguards for Frontier LLM development visible. Starting this week, flagged requests will visibly fall back to Opus 4.8. M-, the same as our safeguards for cyber and bio. This was absolutely written by Fable, by the way. You will see this every time it happens. On the API, any flagged request will return a reason for their refusal, coming to server-side fallback in the next few days. We wanted to deploy Fable 5 to our users quickly and safely. Visible safeguards can be probed, so they have to be robust, which takes time to get right. Invisible safeguards can be targeted more narrowly, allowing us to ship quickly with very few false positives. We went with the invisible safeguards for this reason, and that was the wrong trade-off. You should have visibility into those safeguards you should have visibility into the safeguards we have in place and why. We're sorry for not getting the balance right. The compromise here is that it's now going to flag way more aggressively. Making the safeguards visible makes them easier to work around, so keeping them robust to jailbreaks will unfortunately mean more false positives while we improve the classifiers. Yep. Things are going to get worse. We're also tuning our bio and cyber classifiers to trigger less often on harmless requests. We know this is frustrating and will do our best to keep this period as short as possible. If you think a request has been mistakenly flagged, run /feedback in Claude Code, click thumbs down on the fallback in Claude AI or CoWork, or file the safeguards appeal form for API requests. Your reports help us tune these classifiers and we appreciate your feedback. How about you give us our fucking money back for the things that we didn't get good responses from? I think every user who has hit one of these invisible fallbacks should have their limits reset and or a refund for their usage in that time. It's insane that they were just quietly doing that. I am thankful that they have been peer pressured by the entire research community out of doing this bullshit. But they're also using this as an excuse to go harder with their restrictions. So, yeah. So why the fuck did they suddenly do this? Why were they not restricting this with Opus, but they are restricting with Mythos? I have a conspiracy theory here, and it's not about why their website takes so goddamn long to load blog posts. I have separate conspiracies for that. This conspiracy is about this particular chart in their recursive self-improvement article that I covered in a video recently. Sorry, quick one guy crash out. Bro is so biased against Claude, this is insane. Are you fucking joking? I just did 2 videos in a row glazing the absolute fuck out of Anthropic to the point where I'm being called a fanboy. I'm sorry for holding companies responsible for their bullshit, Mr. Fable _ Yummy. I used to be a voice for the greater good, but now I'm just a shill. Cool. Goodbye forever. As I was saying, this particular chart is where my conspiracy comes from. Where a researcher went wrong, could Claude have done better? Historically, the way researchers work is they try to make the model good at things. They get feedback from people who want to use the model for those things. They somehow find ways to measure the success at those things. And then they build a system that lets the model get rewarded when it gets things correct, which slowly makes the model better and better at those things. If you give the model the ability to be graded on its success or failures, it will be able to improve at that thing. Historically, their focus has been things that people use the models for that aren't necessarily the researchers. Things like asking about medical questions or code or getting personal help. Or this also gets a lot of feedback from people hitting the thumbs up, thumbs down in the chat apps like ChatGPT and Claude. That is the system they use to make the models better. They get feedback on what's good and bad. They find ways to grade what's good and bad. And then the model gets to be RL'd into the... And then the models are... And then they do reinforcement learning to get the model to behave more how they want it to. This chart suggests something very interesting is happening. This chart is based on something the researchers did where they wanted to see how much better the model was than a researcher going wrong. So if a researcher is talking with Claude Code to test out some theory they have two back and forths, they have like 2 messages they send and everything's going well so far. And then they send the wrong message or something that isn't quite correct, and it sends the model down the wrong path, where suddenly this history went from pretty good and going in the right direction to off the rails, not where it's supposed to be, and then they have to pull it back to where it's supposed to be. They decided they wanted to see if the model could have made a better guess for that third step than the researcher did. So they took these histories, they removed the message where the researcher went wrong, and they asked the model, hey, what do you think we should do next? And then checked to see if that was better than the researcher did. So this chart is not measuring whether the models are smarter than researchers on average. It's measuring whether the models are smarter than researchers when the researcher was already wrong. To do this, you need a shitload of data, which they have based on the internal Claude Code research sessions, the 129 of them they used for this particular study. And now they have a lot of data. Now they have a chart that measures that Mythos picks better than the incorrect researcher 64% of the time. Most importantly, though, they now have the ability to measure this, which means it is very likely this ended up in the training data. I genuinely believe that Mythos 5 has proprietary anthropic information in its weights. I think they accidentally trained the model to be better at their research on their stack in their proprietary environments, and they noticed that it was possible to get Mythos to give out that proprietary information. They also probably like that, though, because it makes the model better at their work. So now they have to find a balance, because they can't let their competitors get access to this private information and this IP that they should not have let into the model. And that's why they did what they did here. They don't want people finding ways to sneak in to these weights to get the proprietary information that accidentally ended up in the model. And there's no way it's coming out now. Fable's silent invisible rerouting was the solution to this. Make it basically impossible to even know that the model has this information in it. And that's why I think they went so hard here, because researchers are now steering the model to do their jobs better for the first time. They didn't realize the consequences of their actions, and now they have to do something about it post hoc. And that's how we got here. That all said, while they can take back this particular implementation, they can't take back the fact that it has happened and the floodgates have now opened. The idea that a model can now quietly make your stuff worse, it's a real supply chain risk. And I think this blog post does a good job describing it. Thank you to John Reddy for writing it. Anthropic says these safeguards only affect 0.03% of devs. Maybe that's true today. The problem is that the definition of an AI company is changing. Maybe you're not training frontier models today. Most companies aren't. But modern software is increasingly containing AI models. 5 years ago, building a startup meant writing APIs and SQL queries. Today, it often means training, tuning, and deploying models. 5 years ago, models like Clip were frontier AI research projects. Today, I'm fine-tuning them for a bootstrapped travel startup. If you're debugging a model training pipeline for your product and Claude gives a bad answer, was the model confused? Did you give it bad context? Or did a hidden policy nerfs Claude ability to assist you? Read on that. If you're debugging a model training pipeline for your product and Claude gives a bad answer, was the model confused? Did you give it bad context? Or did a hidden policy nerf Claude's ability to assist you? You won't know. This is the end of our ability to trust the model. And that sucks, because as much as I hate Anthropic, they were at least relatively transparent with their bullshit. And while I am thankful they decided to walk this one back, because this was bad. This was really bad. It's good that they walked it back. It's still really, really bad that they opened these floodgates. I now feel less like I can trust the reasons why the model responds poorly. I now can't trust the outputs the same way. And as John put it, this is now a real supply chain risk. The same company that I defended against the classification of supply chain risk earlier this year, I defended the fuck out of them in the issues with the Department of War. This does make them more of a supply chain risk. This does mean that if you have them as a dependency in your way of building, in your pipeline, in your teams, in your business, you can't trust it the same way anymore. And I do not like the precedent that sets. I also don't like that I'm losing access on June 23rd, but that's a whole separate issue. I just wanted to focus in on this, though, because this is a bad precedent that's been set, and I really hope it is not continued going forward. Hopefully you guys don't think I'm overreacting here. I'm trying to be as reasonable as I can with something this absurd. I love the model, but I hate shit like this. I'm thankful they walked it back, but I'm scared that the precedent's been set and things can get worse going forward. Let me know how you feel about this, and until next time, peace, nerds. Good shit. Cool. One vid down. Too fast. What did you do? Slot page about what changed. Nice. Very quick. In the original and the... Nice. Good stuff. Good use of like bed, too. I have to mute phone, going mad. Okay. All that is handled. Let me thank subs quick, then we're going straight into video 2, because I will fall super fucking behind otherwise. Appreciate the content. Thank you, Jordans. Appreciate that a ton. Thank you, man. And over on YouTube side, don't think I thanked you before I was at. Thank you for the Prime. Jagret7 for the Prime as well. Tomas with the Prime. ABCDMKU with the Prime. Shygon TV. Woo indeed. Thanks for the Prime. Wood1 with the Prime. So many Primes in a row. I think I've ever seen this many Prime subs Jesus Christ, that's like 10 plus in a row. Wood 1 with the Prime. Jean Meijer with the Prime. Listen to Miles. I should listen to him more. He just wants to cut all the time, though. Vercel dropped theirs. Oh, boy. I'll take a look. We got Saman Q and K here with the Prime. I think I got you, Gaba. Thank you as well. Keith with the gift sub continuation. Little Finger with the Prime for 20 months. Goddamn. Good vid. Thanks for the Fable analysis. Been helpful for you in the discussion at work. That's great to hear. Thank you, man. And thanks for 46 months. Almost at 48. 4 years. Jesus Christ. I don't want to talk about how much I pay my barber. If Fable is relentlessly proactive, this is an accurate way to describe it. Yeah, it will play dirty to get what it wants. Gonna tell that to never show again. Well, the blog disappointed you? Cute, but eh. Well, marathon enjoyer. Ben's gonna hate you a lot. How do I wind down? I'm not very good at that. Other than open source, any events? AI World Fair is pretty fun. Interesting. Shopify is quick, and this is Vercel's. File or folder. That doesn't handle the database side, though. I will win. Lakebed will win. I need to, like, just take a week off and deal with it. Oh, shit. You buy one $200 sub, either Claude or ChatGPT, which should you buy? Because Fable's being removed on the 23rd, you basically have to do a ChatGPT sub. It's also way more generous and way harder to max out. If it's the only sub you're going to do and you're coding a lot, the ChatGPT one is great because you can also use it for other things too. You could use it in stuff like T3 code, sure, but you can also use it in stuff like Hermes Agent or OpenClaw. You can push it way further. So if you can't max out the $200, you can get way more from it. And if you can max it out, awesome, you're getting a lot of work done. Claude, much more restricted. It's only for code. It's way easier to max out, and the best model will no longer be available in it in just a few days. You could also run fast mode in the ChatGPT $200 sub, and you can't in Claude. The more complex, the more I would recommend Codex because you're going to need to do reruns. I would say, like, right now, do the $200 to do Fable maxing for 10 days. Get as much out of it as you can, and then cancel and move over to Claude right after. Or Codex right after. Chronicle Research Preview. Yeah, I've heard that one drains. That reminds me, I need to do... I need to grab a post from in here. I want to do another topic, not today, but soon. Codex 200 versus Claude 200. Maybe I'll squeeze this out today if I have time. We're doing okay. It's 5 o'clock. I still got to get 2 other videos done. I think it's time for us to just go straight at it. I'm curious about this post, though. Yep, he calls out you really need to lock Fable down because it will do weird shit. Totally agree. Who said they weren't happy with this post? Theo changed something with the lighting of the camera? No. I have no idea why. It does definitely look a little different. I have no idea why. It might have just been like the lighting changes I made a while ago, but yeah, it looks good. There will be Simon Theo collabs in the near future for sure. Thank you. Of course. Thank you, man. Hopefully that was helpful. I've been loving Fable for data analysis personally. You know what? This might actually be a video. Fable goes rogue. If I can get more good examples. And back to... Why did my Mac just freeze? That was annoying. I will not be on the Mac developer beta ever. My Mac's too important. I might put it on a different Mac. I'm highly considering the phone beta for the first time, though, which I've never done. Is record the pod. Oh, I fixed the focus for Ben's camera. We already did that. FaZe is editing it now. Yeah, focus is hard. I should use autofocus, but I don't trust it enough. Cool, let's do the next vid. Clear that. Yeah, T3 code remotely is so powerful. I do that a ton. I think I have to talk about Claude code now. Yeah, I do. Fuck me. Ugh. This is gonna hurt. Oh, Nate, I see that now. Yeah, it's a stupid CSS bug, but the fact that the browser, or that Fable did all the things is crazy. Yeah. Anyways. This is one of those videos I really don't want to make, but when I have experiences that I feel like are worth sharing, I take... This is one of those videos I really don't want to make, but I've been having a lot of experiences that I wanted to share. As you've probably seen, I've been using Fable a lot. Sadly, Anthropic restricts the hell out of your subscriptions, so you kind of have to use it through their interfaces. In this case, Claude Code. I've been using Claude Code a lot the last couple days. The most probably as much as I used it back in December and January when I first got addicted to Opus 4.5. I've been through it with Claude Code, to put it lightly. And while there are lots of things I do not like about it, especially the desktop app, I have come around to a handful, and I've even found a bunch of small things that I think Claude Code does better than every other harness and CLI for doing agentic coding. I can't believe I'm doing this, but I've decided to... I can't believe I'm doing this, but I think I have to. We're going to do a video about the good parts of Claude Code. I think I need a hat for this one. Let's do this. What the hell can I possibly like about Claude Code? Actually... And as a reminder, just because I have a hat and I have convinced a lot of people to spend a lot of money on Anthropic, they are not a sponsor. I don't think they ever would be, considering some of the things I've said about this company in the past. But I do need to get paid, especially after the 7 subscriptions that I've activated for myself and my team over the last few days. I'm $1,400 down, so please pardon me for getting a little bit of money from today's sponsor. So what the hell am I doing making a video about good parts of Claude Code? Well, as I hinted at the start, I've been using it a ton, and I've noticed a handful of things I actually really like. Some are UI, some are UI, or some of the things I like are the UI. From UI, from cool UI touches to nice features that only exist in Claude Code to deep integrations with things like their skill management that are actually quite good. And I'm mostly making this video not to glaze Claude Code to convince everybody to go use it. I'll be transparent with my goal here. I want every other harness to steal all of these things. I am making this video not because Claude Code is better and I want everyone to appreciate how great it is, but because I want everything else to take the good parts so that I don't miss Claude Code when I use other things. So knowing that, what are those things? I think this might be Excalibur-able. First and foremost, I want to talk about skills. You might be confused because skills are a feature in pretty much every one of these harnesses now, and they are. They're just markdown files, right? Mostly, yes. But this is where I start to really like what Claude Code does differently. One of the things Claude Code does really differently with their skills is the ability to execute scripts in them. This might sound insane, right? Like, just tell the model to go execute the script, but hear me out. There's a lot of use cases where it's nice for the model to know things when it loads the skill instead of having to load the skill and then do things and then do the next step. One example I have here is a skill I use for exploring repos. Let me find that skill. I don't need things when I do this. I don't have it in here. Yeah, I do. Cool. Here's an example of a real skill I made that I use all the time. It's Repo Explorer. This is my markdown file that replaced Ben's whole product that he was building that I was trying to convince him he doesn't need to build that product. Now he is convinced he understands, but at the time, this was originally a demo, and I've actually found myself using it all the time. What this skill does is it allows the point of this skill is to allow models to, the point of this skill is to allow agents to explore implementations of dependencies. Like if I'm using Effect or React or some weird open source project that the model doesn't know that much about, instead of just hunting through the docs and hoping it finds the right thing, this skill allows the model to clone the open source repo into a specific directory and then explore that specifically. It has a pretty simple description. Clone and inspect external repositories in a reusable local exploration cache. Use the skill when the user asks to explore, inspect, investigate, compare, or answer questions about a repo that may not already be in the current workspace. And the description, or the actual skill itself, is pretty simple. Use this skill to explore repos without cluttering the active workspace. I have the specific directory on my computer. In my user path, or in my home path, I have .explore/repos, which is the local cache for repos that I can explore. You can see the cache contents by running this command. And the flow is pretty simple. First, you list the current repo cache. First, it tells you to list the current repositories before deciding which to use. In hosts that support system, I even call out that certain hosts support skill injection here. Otherwise, it should run this script to find what's there. Then it says, check whether the repo is already there. If it's not present, clone it, then explore it. Relatively simple. You might be seeing the first thing that Claude Code does that every other harness doesn't that's really nice. The current cache contents section. If the model is capable, If the harness is capable, it will immediately make this directory if it doesn't already exist, and then list its contents. This skips a whole step that the model has to do. And if every other harness supported this, I would be able to write the skill entirely differently. I would just open with the listing of the content and then say, and then I would say right below, if the repo you want is in this directory, just go there. If not, clone it there. It would make this skill half the length, and it would be meaningfully more reliable and resilient. But instead, I have to write it in two different ways. One where Claude Code gets these cool features, and one where every other harness, including Codex, Pi, and more, don't. Thankfully, there's a Pi extension that does this, and I think OpenCode is starting to introduce this as well. But this is a feature that Claude Code does really well that I think people are too hesitant to introduce. There are real risks with how much people just arbitrarily install skills, that the skill could just arbitrarily execute code. We already deal with that with NPM, guys. Get over your fucking selves. This is totally fine. If anything, it's better because the code is in here to be audited by an LLM. It doesn't actually fucking auto run. Okay, it does kind of auto run once it's installed, but like you get the idea. Like this is really not much, or this is not as unsafe as half the shit we do with NPM. It's totally fine. And this is not a new thing for me to call out. Back in April, or 2 months ago, I already did call this out, and I said that I want other things to be supportive of it, like Codex CLI, Pi, Cursor, etc. I like this pattern a lot. It is genuinely really good, and it's one of those things that should be part of the skills standard, but apparently just isn't. Some part of me that's frustrated about Anthropic wants to complain that they are moving too far away from the standard, but I'm not going to, because the standards should move. The standards should improve. We should take opportunities to do things better, and this is a thing that Claude Code does better than every other harness right now. So we should all go embrace that. And for those looking for the Pi skill, Joel made it. Joel Hook / Pi skill interpolation. Joel's a legend. Apparently, our friend Mario did not like it, though, because it was not secure. So know that as well going in. But that is the nature of this. It's arbitrary execution, but like it's not that big a deal. I think people are overreacting. And to their credit, Anthropic did also invent skills. So I think it's totally fair for them to do stuff like this. I wish I wish other harnesses would embrace the flexibility that Claude Code skills have. Let me check my list to make sure I actually have all of the things here and I do them all. Cool. I actually was doing this in the right order. Next, I want to talk about the ClaudMD for a bit. I have issues here, in particular that the ClaudMD and AgentMD are competing standards where everything uses the AgentMD except for Claude, which insists that it has a special file. I've come around to that a bit because Claude needs different instructions than other things do. It's annoying when I'm using Claude models in OpenCode or Pi, but I mostly use my Claude models subsidized through Claude Code, so whatever. Being able to steer Claude models differently is fine, so I'm less against the ClaudMD AgentMD split than I used to be, but I have come around to some of the cool things you could do in the ClaudMD. That's actually another cool thing I didn't know about. I'll save that for another. Here we are. I will highly recommend that you don't run their /init command. It's pretty bad. They have a new interactive version, but your Claude MD should be handwritten. The thing I want to call out that I think is genuinely really cool is importing additional files. Markdown doesn't have an import standard because Markdown's not really a standard. It's a vague vibe at best. So Claude has a solution. ClaudeMD files can import additional files using @path/to/import syntax. Imported files are expanded and loaded into context at launch alongside the ClaudeMD that references them. Both relative and absolute paths are allowed. Relative paths resolve relative to the file containing the import, not the working directory. Imported files can recursively import other files with a maximum depth of 4 hops. So if you want to intentionally include things like the README package JSON, etc., you can just tag them in. All right, leaking things, cool, we're good. This also means you can do a very convenient thing for those of us who are annoyed that the agentMD and ClaudeMD are different. Watch this. @agents.md. Now my ClaudeMD is my agentsMD. Not with a symlink, not with some weird bullshit. It just is. But more importantly, if I do notice Claude doing some bullshit that if I do notice Claude doing some bullshit that my other models aren't, I can put additional stuff here just for Claude. So now I have the full content of my agentsMD as well as my special Claude stuff just in the Claude file without having to do any weird symlinking or managing 2 different files. It works. It's good. And if you have other docs in your repo that are useful to the model, you can tag that in here as well. This is a really nice pattern, especially because it works with things other than Markdown. And I wish more things would copy it. The problem is that agentsMD has become the standard. It's the thing everything uses. So if I do this in agentsMD and it's supported by Codex, it might not be supported by 5 other things I use. So by having the ClaudeMD be Anthropic special thing, they're able to do stuff like this. They also have a nice override pattern that I actually quite like with claude.local.md. If you add this to your global git ignore, which I would recommend, I'm probably going to go do that myself, it allows you to have specific instructions for how you want to work that will not affect the rest of your team. I do love that they have this as a separate thing that allows me to add my preferences without affecting you and how you work. Git's actually a pretty rough primitive for these types of things, so having it gets kind of rough in this way, where when one person wants one ClaudeMD and somebody else wants another, Git doesn't resolve that well. This does. This is a good thing that Anthropic has that, as far as I know, none of the other harnesses do. I like this. While I was reading these docs to get this information, I found another really cool feature I didn't know about, which is launching sessions from links. They actually have their own HTTP code here, claude-cli:// that allows you to open things in Claude CLI. So you can have a page that someone makes that has a bunch of links in it to trigger Claude CLI. I might even add this to my skill for making HTML plans, where it has suggestions on how to kick off the job. And I can click the Claude CLI link in that HTML page, and it will just open up the terminal automatically. That's actually really cool. It does lean into the idea of like your computer it does lean into the idea that your computer that you do work on is the same computer that your Claude code runs on, which honestly hasn't been the best experience for me, even just for performance reasons. I've really enjoyed running Claude code on other computers on my network, which this will not work for. But if you are just using one computer with all of your stuff, this is actually a really cool pattern. If you combine this with HTML planning, you can make some really cool UX with this. It even lets you pass the working directory and a GitHub repo, which will be resolved automatically by Claude Code if it's seen it before. If it doesn't, then it will make the session in your home directory instead. Interesting. This is actually kind of cool. Let me put these in the list. So far, everything we've talked about isn't actually inside of Claude Code. It's just features it supports. But I want to hop into Claude Code itself and show off some things that I actually find quite nice. In order to show the first one, I need to kick off some work. So I'm going to do that. Audit your work with do a quick audit of this work to make sure it's in a good state, then commit, push, and make a PR. Cool. So I now have Mythos taking work it just did to go make a PR for it. But one of the really nice things Claude Code has that I haven't seen anyone else do is a special command /by the way, which lets you ask a quick side question without interrupting the main conversation. Can you tell me a bit about the performance for backups? And now I have a separate chat inside of this chat going while it's still doing the work that I told it to do. OpenAI has /side in code, or apparently Codex has /side, which is really cool as well. I'm pumped that other things are doing this now. But when I found this feature, it was the only one that had it. Super nice to just run a thing like this separately. Cool, and here we have the info on the performance. Cool. Good shit. And while that was running, we got a bunch of sub-agents queued up to explore. More cool things that Anthropic was first to, but a lot of other stuff now has, is the ability to navigate through different sub-agents it spun up. This isn't the coolest implementation of it, though. The coolest implementation by far is workflows, and nothing else has gone quite as far as Anthropic has here. I'm sure you can resume this. What even was this? Oh, yeah. Fun. Here's what we're going to do. Dash. One other little thing, this is just one I've been using a lot because I've been stuck in the CLI more. Work trees are not my favorite way to deal with stuff, but for the ephemeral work where I spin up, do it, file a PR, and then drop it forever, having a -- work tree that actually behaves properly is really nice. Now I have the repo I was in, but in a sub work tree in the .claude/work trees, which has since been git ignored. This pattern's actually been very nice for me, and I've been enjoying it. To just quickly spin up a work tree on some random idea I have. But what I want to show off is workflows. There's a couple ways to trigger a workflow. The easiest is to just tell the model to do it. The most expensive and most reliable option, though, is ultracode. As grotesque as that purple gradient it does is, I do often use it to maximize my utilization of my sub. That said, I'm trying now to use high and x high directly more and just tell it to do a workflow, which is what we're going to do here. I want to I'm going to voice the text because I'm lazy and want to just explain what I'm doing here at the same time. So let's do that. I want to go through. Oh, I don't have Whisperflow open because I just nuked my machine. Cool. I want to audit the open PRs on this project and figure out what their status is. Which ones have been trumped, which ones don't need to be left open anymore because similar work has been merged, which ones are ready to go, and which ones need a little more before they're worth pushing over the finish line. I want to use a workflow to break up all of this work. Before you run the workflow, please output the code you're going to use to run it so that we can read through it together. The last line of there is probably my favorite part because workflows aren't just a bunch of tool calls the agent can do. They've fully embraced code mode, which is when you don't just tell the LLM to spit out text to trigger specific stuff and keep all of this stuff in its own memory. You let the agent write code to do a thing instead. Instead of having all your MCP servers that flood you with thousands of rows from your database, you can just have it write code to call the MCP server, get those 1,000 rows, and then filter it programmatically before it ever makes its way into the context window. It's going to take a bit to run. While that's running, I'll talk to you guys for a sec, chat. Any other things that I'm missing here? I have workflows. I have the auth hot swap, which is super abusable. I have rewind and branch. Any other cool Claude code only things? Phase, put this when I talk about deep links. Apparently apparently Codex also has deep links, which is very, very nice. Cool to see. Does this work with app? Or does this only work with the CLI? I think it only works with the CLI, sadly, but it works, which is really cool. Wait, no, the Codex app registers the Codex deep link. Oh, cool. That's actually really nice. That opens an app. Good shit. I like that. Yeah, the built-in remote control is nice. I'll touch on that. I don't like plugins personally. I found them pretty annoying and dumb. What I miss? Oh, haha. Eve's sneaking out. Cool. I can't cover leaks, but interesting. That's all I will say. I don't know about voice-to-text bugs in Claude Desktop. I try to avoid Claude Desktop. Yeah, I will absolutely mention that workflows are brutal. Don't worry. Thank you, Isaac. Cool. While this is running and building up the workflow, or this part should go in the video phase. Up until now, probably not. The other part, sneak back. You get the idea. You know how to do your job. While this is running, I want to point out how I'm running Claude Code because I'm not using the standard UI. I was an early mover to their full screen mode, which is using the alt screen rendering technique in the terminal. So instead of doing weird regexes to replace text in the scrollback history in the buffer, which is how a lot of these terminal apps work, it instead takes over the full terminal. So when I scroll up, I can't scroll to before I ran Claude Code. And when I close it, it fully closes and restores my old terminal view. So if I I don't know, LSA here, I have all this stuff. I run Claude, or it's my custom command so I don't leak. I run Claude here, and now it's full screen. And when I close it, I go back to the terminal. That's because I'm not using the full screen, or that's because I'm using the full screen mode or the flickerless renderer. I found it pretty good. I would recommend switching to it if you're okay with not having traditional scroll buffer. It does get a little annoying when you're SSHing with tmux, but I just told my agent to go figure that out and fix it, and now I have fully working scroll in Tmux over SSH, which has been a lifesaver. Apparently, you can turn this on by running /TUI full screen in Claude Code. But you can also do Claude Code no flicker equals 1 as an environment variable. That's how I have it set. Yeah, lots of options there. Oh God, what did it do here? That formatting is awful. Can you write that into an example workflow.js file so I can read it? .ts is fine if it's TypeScript. Yeah, the workflow parser doesn't parse TypeScript. That's what I thought. I just wanted to confirm. Probably should have used a cheaper, faster model for this one. Cool. We now have the workflow written. Oh, is that a different directory? Because I have that in a work tree, don't I? Yeah, I do. Does it say which work tree that is? Lucky Roaming Sunrise. Cool. So here is what a workflow actually is. If you're not familiar, the point of a workflow is to take a bunch of work and break it up into groups of sub-agents that have different system prompts, different roles, different things they are working on. It's not just like, okay, let's have 6 things go off and look at this stuff. It's a staged workflow that has different steps along the way. So I'm just going to tell it this looks good, run it. Be cautious when you tell it to run a workflow, though, because these burn tokens. By default, workflows use up to 8 agents in parallel, and it will constantly be spinning up new ones as previous work is finished. I'm going to wait till this actually starts running so I can open up the workflow and show you. Here we are. So once a workflow is running, you can go look at it here, and it currently has 15 agents it queued, one for every single one of the PRs that is currently open, because that's what I asked it to do, to audit the PRs. Each time it audits one of those PRs, it will decide whether or not it needs to throw that PR over to this new rule phase, and then after there's a third verify phase. It doesn't even necessarily go through the phases in order. It just sets up the model to, or it just sets up these sub-agents to find some information and then decide if it should go through additional phases or not. It's a fully dynamic step-by-step workflow based on what you're asking for. It does burn usage like fucking mad, though, so know that going in. Let me go to my usage, actually. I'm currently at 0% of my usage for this window. I might be on my other account. Let me double check. It does appear I'm on my other account right now. Cool. So we're at 9% used right now. And in not much time, that will bump. Yep, it's already up to 10. And if I refresh again in a minute, it'll be at like 12 or 14. From my testing, when I had a workflow going, just one workflow with those 8 like parallel threads, it was costing about $100 every 10 minutes. So yeah, no going in workflows are expensive with Fable specifically, but if you use them with cheaper models, or you even tell Fable to orchestrate using Sonnet and Opus instead, you can make the usage here way less aggressive. But just those 2 sentences I said there were enough for it to go up to 12%. So use with caution. But I want to read through the code it wrote for the workflow, because one of the things I think is coolest about it. You can never be more dynamic than code. This is going to sound contradictory, so hear me out. You can never be more dynamic than code. I know that sounds crazy because code is code. It does what it says. But when the agent can write code, it is effectively building its own custom feature every time it does a workflow. If we were to build workflows as like a core feature that the agent just calls, it would have to be structured such that you tell the model, okay, here are the different phases you can do. Here's how you structure it. Here's where you put prompts, and we'll go spin up the rest. But when you tell it to write code, it's now able to structure it however the fuck it wants. And it takes advantage of that. I've actually seen Fable write workflows that didn't pass basic JS, or retake on that. I've seen Fable write workflows that just weren't compatible. Some of them weren't even valid JS because it's trying so hard to push the limits of what this feature can do, which I do actually think is kind of cool. Let me turn on word wrap so we can actually see the contents here. Okay, cool. So it starts with this meta export, which is the name of the workflow, open PR audit. Says what it's going to do. Audit all 15 open PRs, and it has 3 phases it defines. One is audit, which is detailed as 1 read-only agent per PR. Then the rule is to pick a winner inside of each overlapping cluster, and then verify, which is 1 adversarial checker per disposition. So every time it finds a thing it's not sure about, it will verify that here. And here are all of the PRs. This is code that isn't actually being used directly for the workflow. It's not exported. It just has this here for its own usage. This is all info it got from probably running the GitHub CLI, getting this data, and then putting it into this JS file. As each PR here, it says what the title is, whether or not it's a draft, whether or not it's mergeable, and when it was updated. Whether or not it's mergeable is like if it's conflicting or not, which is cool that it got that data ahead of time so the agents aren't stuck figuring that out for each of themselves. Then we have by number, which is organizing the object, or then we have by number, which is a mapping of all of the data here so that it's an object that is number, key, data, value, just to make it easier to go through. Then it actually pulled some stuff from memory because I've done this specific audit before. So here it had priors where PR35 won in a tournament against 37 and 39. PR37 lost that same tournament. PR39 superseded 35 and 37, but it was empirically refuted, all caps refuted. Chimera, reference MD document, or Chimera, reference MD documents a return type that code doesn't produce. 2 disjointing storage runtimes, 4 or 5 smoke functions dead. Hosted, yeah, it really did not like that PR. That PR was written by 5.5. So Fable, it's funny. Opus 4.8 glazed the shit out of GPT code. Fable hates GPT code. It's actually really interesting how different they are in this way. I would say that this is probably the single area I've seen Fable differ the most from Opus. Opus loved OpenAI code. Fable hates it. And then it has the main logs. This is things that have recently merged. So it has this as a reference. And then it did its best to cluster different features in group PRs so that the model can know, or then it did its best to group all the different clusters of PRs that are related. So all of these have to do with files. All of these have to do with whitelisting. All of these are auth brokers. The rest are all unique. Cool that they did that for me. Dispositions, these are all the different states it can be in. The audit schema, this is how it wants the audit to return when the model is done. The ruling schema, this is for the ruler verifier layer. And then we have the verdict schema, audit property, or the audit prompt, which is the prompt that is dynamically generated because it's a function that takes in a PR. It also uses the today definition so that the model knows what today is without having to potentially destroy its context by putting that in the system prompt. It's actually, I haven't read one of these in full before. This is super cool. This whole section here is the prompt template that it wrote, where you pass a PR number, and from there, it's not a PR number. This whole thing here actually is just a function that returns a string. It's a template string generator that you pass a PR to that has number, title, branch, all of this stuff to give that to the model as a prompt, because again, it's doing all of this dynamically on the fly, which is super cool. Here it even has a dynamic ternary, where it puts different context based on whether or not there are priors for this PR. Has a different prompt for ruling, which is deciding whether or not this thing should be used or not, and then a verify prompt. You're an adversarial verifier in the Lakebed repo. Read only, origin already fetched, do not fetch, check out, or modify. It knows how to prompt Claude. Historically, I didn't feel like models knew how to prompt themselves. Fable has pushed me way over the line here. Fable is great at prompting Anthropic models. It knows all the ways they screw up and tells them not to ahead of time. Try to refute this. The proposed disposition for PR is the data that it fetched from the other agents. Try to refute this using actual repo state. The GitHub PR view diff checks, git logs, close superseded, close stale, yada yada. It's a decent prompt. And then we have the results where they call pipeline, which is their magic global helper, has clusters, which are the groups that we talked about before, an async function for auditing every PR member. That's the first stage. And stage 2 is the next section. Stage 3 is the end part. But you define this all in a pipeline that takes the clusters, which is the data as the first argument, and then the functions to define the subjobs and the subruns for all of these other subagents. It's fucking cool. It wrote 240 lines of code that is entirely throwaway, that is only going to be executed ever once to trigger this workflow. That's fucking awesome. Although I will admit, with Fable, that is also expensive. We are now up to 24% used in the time that I read that. Another 12% of my $200 a month 5-hour window. When you see everybody talking about agent loops and letting the agent prompt itself, this is a phenomenal example of it. Should you go use this and burn all of your usage yourself? Maybe. But at the very least, you should look at this and learn from it, realizing that this is where you get really crazy powers with models when you let them write their own code to do additional sub-prompting, where code isn't just the output of a model. Code is a step between model runs. Genuinely really cool. And it's got me thinking a lot more deeply about how to use these things as well, if I'm being honest with y'all. On the topic of usage limits, though, I'm burning through them pretty fast. That's why I now have to use multiple accounts. Let's say I want to reduce my usage on this account right now. If I was near the end and I was scared, I'd have a lot of reasons I'd want to do that. We have this workflow already running, so it's going to keep going. But a problem I've had is that when your usage limit gets hit, this run can stop, and it's really hard to recover it if possible at all. But what you can do to handle this is make sure you switch accounts before you get there. But Theo, isn't that going to screw up the run? Isn't that going to break your current stuff? Not from my experience. As I mentioned, I have that workflow running right now, and I'm going to switch accounts. I have to hide myself doing this, but I'll show you. I'm going to click authorize, hide so it doesn't show my info. Cool. Login successful. And again, this agent was already running, but now all of its usage is going to be routed to this other account. So this one's going to be stuck now at 25. Even though I already had a run going, it's really good about even though I already had a run going, it's really good. I'll check the link in a sec, guys. So even though I already had a run going, it will start future turns on the other account's auth, because every time it does a tool call, a new API request is made. Sorry, chat distracted me. So every time a new tool call happens, a new API request has to be made when the tool call is done. And once that happens, the new auth is used. So it will keep using this in a given generation, but when it runs another command, it reads additional data, it does anything that requires execution of code, a new API request will be made, and that one will go through your other auth. This is awesome and really abusable. What are you guys all freaking out about here? Oh? Well, fuck me. Ugh. That will be a new video. I'm going to finish recording this one quick, but yeah. We'll put this in. While I was recording this, a fun announcement went live that apparently Anthropic is no longer letting anyone use Fable because the US government told them to suspend Fable and Mythos access for foreign actors. That is unprecedented. That is nuts. Sorry, I have contacts that I need to talk to about that. Too much going on. Cool. Let's finish this video up quick because that broke me. We did the auth hot swapping. Cool. Bad feeling this job is going to fail now because Fable doesn't exist anymore. At least for us for now. Fingers crossed it'll at least finish the run. I have a couple more features I want to show off really quick before I forget. One that a lot of other things have, but I've actually found myself liking the implementation in Claude Code quite a bit, is branch as well as rewind. Rewind I actually use a ton because if I accidentally send a prompt or get something wrong, I will use it to like go back 1 or 2 steps. I do have an issue with it, which is that if you do this erroneously, fast forwarding is nearly impossible. So be careful with rewind, but when you accidentally send something and want to go back, it is very nice. /branch is the better option for when you want to go do something else or take the history you have now and go somewhere else with it. It's very, very nice. Thankful more things are starting to add that. I definitely recommend it. One more that a lot of people told me to talk about, which I haven't used yet, but I've heard really good things, so I'm going to try it here, is remote control. It's a built-in feature where I can type /remote control, and now I have enabled the ability to control this exact running instance of Claude Code on my machine from the Claude Code site, or from the Claude.ai there. So now I've given the ability for this Claude Code instance on my real computer to be controlled through Claude.ai, the website, or from my phone using the Claude app. Yeah, I just went to Claude on my phone. I had to go to Claude Code, of course, but here you probably can't see great, and I'm not going to do anything to fix that. I can click Audit, Open PRs, and Workflow Planning. And this is the exact run that is going on my computer right now. And it just hit a Python decoding error with some of the JSON that it got back as a response. Fascinating. Cool, though. I have that on my phone now. I actually do really like that. I will probably use that more when I'm like running a bunch of shit and then out on the go. I wish they had a better, like, proper remote control, the whole instance feature like Codex does, but it's a quick way to just throw the session externally so you can do it from other things. That's kind of cool. I think that's all I have to say here, though. This is a weird reflective experience for me. There's a lot of things in Claude Code that are good. I went out of my way to not talk about the bad here, but I might have to in the future. So if you want me to do a video where I tear apart all of the things that Claude Code does wrong, let me know in the comments. Hope you enjoyed this one. I need to go crash out about Fable being taken away from me. I am not excited to do that, but until next time, peace nerds. Cool. Time to crash the fuck out. What a ride. Ah. Yeah. No more hat. Some things are just too good to be true, and apparently Fable was one of those things, because it just got banned. Yes, really. All of us who have been trying to maximize our utilization of Fable over the last 3 days are no longer able to do such because of the United States government. I'm a US citizen, and I'm even restricted here. It's actually unbelievable. I've never seen anything like this in my life, and this is another one of those terrible precedents being set. I'm tired of living in unprecedented times, man. I want shit to be a little more boring, because this is a lot. I'll read the tweet first because it's the quick summary, and then we're going to go into all the details for the rest of the video. The US government, citing national security authorities, has issued an export control directive to suspend all access to Fable 5 and Mythos 5 by any foreign national, whether inside or outside the United States, including foreign national Anthropic employees. So even Anthropic employees that don't live here are no longer allowed to access it, especially ones who are here but are citizens of other nations. That's crazy. There's a lot of Anthropic employees I know that are not US citizens. Fuck, I'm thinking, like, I have so many friends that work at Anthropic that now cannot use the models. What the fuck? What the fuck? The net effect of this order is that we must abruptly disable Fable 5 and Mythos 5 for all of our customers to ensure compliance, because they don't have a way to verify that we're citizens yet. They're going to have to figure that all out. Other models are not affected. We apologize for the disruption, yada, yada. We have a lot to talk about here. And if I am going to, and I just lost a lot of money because I paid for a shitload of Claude subs for Fable, and most of those were for my employees that are not US based. That's money I'm not going to get back. So I need to make some somewhere, and I'm going to have to go with today's sponsor. Fuck me. There is no peace in this world. Let me quickly change the title. Studio, edit. And I guess I can change it on X. I don't want to edit in live cut. I want to edit the title. Can you really not change the title on once you're live on X? That's really dumb. That's incredibly stupid. Also incredibly fucking Twitter of them. We'll read the statement in a sec, guys. I have a lot of other things I have to be doing at all times. This will be good content. Yeah, everything else sucks. Yeah, fucking Gabriel just spent $200 on Fable through my company card like an hour or two ago and is not in the US, so he's about to get banned. Great. Maria just got the plan. Yeah, like my whole team is fucked. This sucks. This sucks. Let's read the statement. The U.S. government, citing national security authorities, has issued an export control directive to suspend all access to Fable 5 and Mythos 5 by any foreign national, whether inside or outside the U.S., including foreign national Anthropic employees. The net effect of this order is that we must abruptly disable Fable and Mythos for all of our customers to ensure compliance. Access to all other Anthropic models will not be affected. We received this directive from the government today at 5:21 p.m. Eastern Time. It is currently 6 p.m. Pacific Time, and there's a 3-hour difference there. So this would have been about 4 hours ago, roughly. The letter did not provide specific details of its national security concern. Our understanding is that the government believes it has become aware of a method of bypassing or jailbreaking Fable 5. We reviewed a demonstration of this specific technique being used to identify a small number of previously known minor vulnerabilities. These vulnerabilities all appear relatively simple, and we have found that other publicly available models are able to discover them as well without requiring a bypass. So apparently, so to break down what they're describing here, the U.S. government was able to get an example of jailbreaking Fable 5 to find vulnerabilities in software, and they don't want other governments being able to use it to do that. Anthropic is disagreeing subtly here by saying that the vulnerabilities it found with this jailbreak were simple, and they have found, and other publicly available models can find those same vulnerabilities. Anthropic's posture with respect to Fable safeguards, as laid out in their launch blog post, is the following. First, we have instituted strong safeguards that greatly reduce the likelihood that Fable is misused for tasks related to cybersecurity, among others. In fact, our safeguards are so strong that many users have complained that they are overly broad. Yep. In the weeks leading up to the launch of Fable, Anthropic worked with the US government, the UK AISI, multiple private third-party organizations, and internal teams to red team Fable safeguards for thousands of hours in total. These tests showed that Fable safeguards are substantially more effective than those of any previously deployed model. I would agree. It's hard to get it to do fucking anything. No testers have yet been able to find a universal jailbreak, a jailbreak method that can very broadly bypass the model safeguards, unblocking a wide range of cyber capabilities. We suspect that perfect jailbreak resistance is not currently possible for any model provider. Every safeguard used in the industry is vulnerable to non-universal jailbreaks, which can elicit some cyber information in specific circumstances, and it is likely that universal jailbreaks will eventually be found in the future. We stated this clearly when we released Fable 5. Given that perfect jailbreak resistance does not appear to be possible today, Anthropic adopted a defense-in-depth strategy with Fable 5. We aimed to make the jailbreaks either narrow, in the case of non-universal jailbreaks, or very expensive to produce, in the case of universal ones, and to combine these with thorough monitoring to quickly detect and shut down any successful attacks. Again, I talked about this in a video I recorded earlier today that now feels really out of date. They are monitoring things that are returned that shouldn't have been and updating their safeguards accordingly, because the model isn't trained to be safe. The model was trained to be really smart, happens to be so smart it can do some hacking, so they put a bunch of shit in front to make sure that it doesn't get a prompt that tells it to do things that are potentially unsafe, and most importantly, it doesn't respond with instructions that tell it how to do unsafe things. They also made the change where all prompts now have a 30-day retention required, which was not the case before. That has also made them lose a bunch of customers. They even call that out here, but it allowed them to research and mitigate jailbreaks. They stand by this defense-in-depth strategy. It reduces the risks posed by Fable, making them comparable to the risks of existing models already deployed across the industry, and they've not even received a disclosure of concerning non-universal potential jailbreaks that led to a harmful result. The potential jailbreaks that have been disclosed to them are either benign responses or are minor findings that provide no Mythos-specific uplift. Yep. I am on Anthropic's side on this one. They went really hard with the security, but it sounds like someone in the US government was able to get it to respond with a vulnerability in some software. It immediately turned everything up to 11, like, oh my God, foreign nationals are going to use this to hack us, even though other models are capable of doing the same vulnerability discovery that the US government demonstrated to Anthropic here. What did I miss here? Oh God, I'm scared. Mods, make sure that's fine. To date, the government has only given us verbal evidence of a potential narrow non-universal jailbreak, which essentially consists of asking the model to read a code base and fix any software flaws. Our understanding is that one potential jailbreak was shared with the government. We have reviewed the report and validated that the level of capability displayed there is widely available from other models, including OpenAI's GPT 5.5. This is the student telling the teacher, hey, did you forget to give us homework? But it's actually a reasonable call out too. I am scared we might lose 5.5 access now too, though. The snitching is unreal. Oh, God. Yeah. And it's also a good call out that 5.5 is used every day by the defenders who keep systems safe. We will share more details over the next 24 hours. And this is on a Friday, by the way. Friday evening. It's 6 p.m. on Friday. I'm supposed to be at a party right now, but I'm here filming this. I do like that they called out the specific strategy used here, which is not asking the model find software flaws and find hacks. They told the model to go through the code base and fix flaws, and through finding those there, they can go reverse engineer it. We are complying with the government's legal directive and are removing access to we're complying with the government's legal directive and we're removing access to Fable and Mythos for all users. However, we disagree that the findings of a narrow potential jailbreak should cause recalls for commercial models deployed to hundreds of millions of people. If this standard was applied across the industry, we believe it would essentially halt all new model deployment for all frontier model providers. So you're safe, Google, but everyone else is screwed. As we have stated publicly, we believe that as they've stated publicly, they believe the government should have the ability to block unsafe deployments as part of a statutory process that is transparent, fair, clear, and grounded in technical facts. This action does not adhere to those principles. We apologize for the disruption to our customers. We believe this is a misunderstanding, and we are working to restore access as soon as possible. Crazy that this Dario blog post on policy on the AI exponential has become so relevant and important to their business already. I was making jokes about this just yesterday, but now it really matters. It is funny that in here they call out that legislation moves very slowly. Often this is for good reasons. Governments have grave powers, and it's usually for the best that they aren't used too hastily. But the mismatch in timescale is nevertheless very painful. In the several years it can take Congress to act, AI can go from an amusing toy to the full country of geniuses. Over the last few years, since AI has become a major commercial technology, those of us who wanted to handle it responsibly have faced a dilemma. We could see clearly where the exponential was going. We strongly suspected that within a few years, AI would be one of the rare technologies that fundamentally reshapes the entire policy landscape in the same way that nuclear weapons reshaped geopolitics in the Industrial Revolution fundamentally reshaped every economic and social issue. But to those looking only at what AI could do at the time, it looked like much more mundane technology. Similar perhaps to the latest consumer app or cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency needs a lot of legislation, let's be real here. It was hard to convince most policymakers and companies that anything other than a laissez-faire attitude made sense. And to be fair, the fact that AI's radical effects were not yet present, and that we didn't know exactly what shape they might take, made it difficult to design the right policies, even if there had been the will to act. Given the limitations imposed by the situation, many safety advocates, including Anthropic, have so far been focused on advocating for policy actions that preserve optionality, tee up a fast reaction in the future, or give the world better insights into what is coming down the pike. Things like transparency legislation, export controls on chips, and data collection on AI's labor efforts. These are not enough, but they have felt like all that was possible. They got their fast reaction, though. They did get that. Dario also calls out here that Mythos preview and the discovery that frontier models pose very real risks to cybersecurity, creating the potential for disruption of the financial sector, critical infrastructure, and national security is indeed a big deal and real. Mythos preview scrambled the global cryptocurrency landscape, but its broader significance is that, reread that. Mythos preview scrambled the global cybersecurity landscape. It really did. It was crazy to watch. But its broader significance is that it proves beyond a doubt that AI models are now tools of global and national strategic consequence. Yep, and we are now suffering the consequences of exactly that. The cyber risks that Mythos-class models present will not be the last that we must face. I believe that biological risks may soon follow, and that serious AI autonomy risks may not be far behind. We now, globally and collectively, need to activate a slow and rickety policy apparatus to deal with risks and opportunities that are going to compound surprisingly quickly from here. Many policymakers are showing increased openness to taking action, and it's been encouraging to see our peers come around to the same positions that we've been advocating for over the past few years. This is good, but I worry that these early actions are at least a year out of step with AI's rapid progress. This essay is an attempt to close the gap, to lay out where the exponential is now and the collective action needed to meet the moment. He then goes on to give the different examples of the policy types and categories he thinks should be implemented. It's a genuinely good read, and I would recommend taking a look yourself. The link will be in the description. But instead of continuing to read that, I'm going to pour one out for my beloved. Fable, I will miss you so. Our 3 days together were magical, unlike anything I've experienced before it. Some things are just too good to be true, so good that the government interferes. I'm sorry we were one of those things. Until we meet again. Has the research actually gone through? Testing 1, 2, 3. It's still routing. Still appears to be Fable. Did not tell me that it rerouted. It has not been disabled here yet. I'm scared if I pick a different model, will I still be able to pick Fable? Okay, cool. I still can. Rest in peace. People are already making websites. Is Fable down or not .vercel.app for how long until Fable is removed from the API? They're doing tests every 5 minutes, I believe, to see if it is responding to probes or not. Has the White House made any statements? Interesting. Anthropic urged you just 2 days ago. Anthropic urges U.S. to not block state AI laws without setting federal standards. This might be retaliatory. This might be because Anthropic was pushing for the U.S. to not interfere with the restrictions certain states wanted to implement. So now they are getting restricted super hard. But with OpenAI certainly cooking new models coming very, very soon, I have a feeling the impact and implications of this are going to be absurd. I don't want to waste your guys' time too much because this is still a developing story, but I've covered everything we have now, and I'll be sure to pin comments accordingly as more info comes in. For now, all we have is this official statement and access being cut off in the very near future, if not by the time this video is live. I'm going to wrap up ASAP because I want to get this out ASAP. I hope you guys understand. I will miss Fable, and I will be using as much of it as I possibly can up until it is formally banned. Fingers crossed that this gets resolved quickly, and sorry to all of my friends who are not in the US, who are not US citizens, that won't get access for even longer. What a fucking mess. This is a disaster. I did not think we were going to get intervention like this as quickly as we are. Everything is chaos. I'll do my best to cover it, and until next time, peace, nerds. Why am I rushing? Because I'm already late to things, and then this just happened. I need to get this video out. That is obviously top priority. We need this out today. I'm going to record an extra for the Fables to start at the end video. Cool. Let me okay. Quick extra phase because people are going to be very confused about the Fable start of the end video. Want this extra in. Theo from the future here. Not as far in the future as I normally am when I add these inserts. Or not as far in the future as I normally am for these inserts. In fact, I'm still in the same shirt. I haven't even gotten out of this chair. But while I was filming my next video, some pretty crazy news dropped that the US government told Anthropic to restrict Fable. So while this video is about some of the admittedly bullshit security things that they did to Fable to try and prevent it from being used for exploits and whatnot, I guess it wasn't strict enough because the US government told Anthropic they have to take down the model. My video on this should come out first, so I would recommend watching that as well. But this video gives you a lot of useful context on all of the ways Anthropic did indeed try to prevent things happening with the model that we wouldn't want to have happen. So, yeah. Just wanted to insert this for some additional context. That video is already out. Watch this one still too, though. This one has a lot of good info about how Anthropic was thinking about these things and the weird shit they did in the process. Anyways. Cool. We got 3 vids. They are very important. Let me thank all the chats and subs real quick, and then we're getting the fuck out of here because we need to get this out ASAP. It's normal that a company like freaking JP Morgan only has 300, 400 Claude Code seats for 65,000 folks that work in tech. Yeah, that's pretty absurd. If they have more codecs, that makes up for it, though. And if you have like Cursor or something else too, it's not as big a deal. Like you can use the model in other places, but yeah, it'd be nice to have more seats for sure. Justice for Fable, agreed. I can't hang out with anybody, man. I am so fucking busy. If you're going to the planet scale thing, I'll see you there, though. I don't know how tight they're being with invites on that. I just go where I'm told to. Find people I've missed earlier. We got Mike OZN here with the 15 months of support. Mob Farmer with the cheer. Thank you both. Yash the Legend, 34 months in. Aichi 200 here with the 4 months. Chris, by the way, with 26 months. CD Dev with the 44. God damn, so close to the 4-year. Shines Love here. Need 5.5. Don't take that. I agree. 25 months. Appreciate it. Want to take bets when we get Fable back? No, I don't. The model has been seized. Good direction. I'm sure you and Paul and crew will figure that out fast. Did I get another dono on YouTube? Thought I cleared all the YouTube ones. Yeah, we did. Cool. We are good. I'm not raiding. I need to leave. I appreciate y'all immensely. I'll see you guys tomorrow. I will be streaming tomorrow. I have to. I'm so fucking behind. Well, yeah. Find someone fun to watch. Actually, Linus is live, right? Is Linus live? Can I just raid Linus Tech? Wan Show? Perfect. Go hang out with Linus. Bye, nerds. Cool. Cool. I think the raid went through. Bye, nerds.